I'll show you how to make your own bicycle tools for adjusting or overhauling the cutter crank assembly. There, it's cutter crank. This is a cutter crank assembly found in the bottom bracket. This is the bottom bracket. Now, this assembly here, or is this one. This portion is where the chain wheel is attached. This portion, this is the adjusting cap, and then the lock ring. This is where the other pedal is attached. This one. Now, you need two specialty tools. For here, in adjusting this one, there is a special tool for that, this one. So you insert this here and then you turn it to adjust it. But you don't have to make this, because an ordinary wrench, adjustable wrench, will do the job. So for this stationary cup, it's called stationary cup, you don't need any special tool. You just turn it with your adjustable wrench into the bottom bracket. Now for this portion, the adjusting cup and lock ring, you need two special tools. So the adjustable cup and lock ring looks like this. So for this part, you need what is called a C-wrench, so that you can put this part in the canal and then turn the lock ring to either direction, whether forward or backwards, when you're adjusting the bearings in your bottom bracket. Now for this portion, there are holes here. You need what is called a pin wrench. Okay, you can, sometimes it's easy to locate these tools in the bicycle shop, but in my country, most bicycle shops do not want to sell bicycle tools, so that you will be forced to go to them and have repairs. But since I'm into bicycle repair, and I know many of you want to learn to repair your own bicycles or to maintain your own bikes, it's better to have your own bicycle tools. You can buy this online. You can also buy this online, but you can make your own C-wrench. I'll show you how to make your own C-wrench. So this is a C-wrench I made. I'll show you the procedure. And then for this, you can use of you can make use of an ordinary flange adjuster used for your angle grinder. I'll get my angle grinder and show you. So this is the angle grinder. You can actually use the pin wrench for the bicycle in adjusting the flange here, but this is specifically for tightening the flange in your angle grinder. Now I don't use this because I might destroy it. This is specifically for my bicycle only, but this one you can convert into a pin wrench, but you just have to grind certain things to make it fit your crank assembly. So we'll concentrate first on making your own C-wrench, this one. Again, if you're into DIY, making your own tools is also a joyful hobby, so I hope you enjoy making your own bicycle tools. I'll show you how to make your own C-wrench for adjusting the lock ring here, and your own pin wrench for adjusting the adjustable cup here. I mean this one. This is the lock ring. This is the adjustable cup. this one. Now, if you don't have any bicycle tools, when I was young, I did not have bicycle tools. To adjust this, you need only to hammer this portion. Use your screwdriver. The problem, of course, is that you will eventually ruin the tip of your screwdriver. You will deform it, and then because sometimes this gets tight, to remove it you really have to hammer it with much force. Now, for this portion, when I was a kid, I just hammered this with a punch, a center punch. But it's nicer to have your own bicycle tools for the pin wrench, for the pins, or for the two holes there, using your pin wrench, and for your lock ring. It's nice to have your own C-wrench for adjusting the lock ring. So like in this book, you can use a punch for hammering the lock ring, or a screwdriver, but I won't advise it. You might deform the canal in your lock ring. So anyway, since it's easy to make your own bicycle tools, I'd rather show you how, instead of using the hammer, punch, and screwdriver for adjusting this. You might damage this, and you will eventually damage your screwdriver. So to make your own C-wrench, you just have to find a sheet metal that's about this thick, about 1/4 inch thick, and about this long. This is about 13 inches. Now you just trace. So this is a sheet metal I found in my scrap pile, the same thickness. Okay, now just trace the shape of the C-ring, C-wrench. It's called the C-wrench because it's letter C. So C-wrench. Just trace it on top of the sheet metal. Now initially I copied this portion because I intended to make a slot here, an opening, for adjusting this portion of the crankset. But as I've said, you don't need a special tool for this, because you can easily make use of an adjustable wrench. So if you're not going to make this part, just make this straight to save on metal. But you know, I changed my mind midstream. Okay, so once you've traced it, this is the procedure on how to cut this in shape. You will need, of course, an angle grinder, a metal cutting disc for stainless steel so that it will be stronger, and then you'll need a Dremel tool or a rotary tool. Okay, so with your angle grinder, you just cut this portion. So here, this is your angle grinder. These are the portions you can cut with your angle grinder. This one, it's easy. This one straight like that. Here, so it's easy. Of course, you also have to have a flat disc for cleaning the sharp edges, for removing the metal parts protruding, so that you will get cut when you're holding your DIY C-wrench. Now for this part, this is the part where you need the Dremel or rotary tool. What I want using is this flexi shaft connected to my Dremel or rotary tool, so that it's easy to position. Because if you're holding this, sometimes if you're tired already, this feels heavy already, especially if you're making several projects. And since this is lighter, your finger dexterity is better. So you can hold this like a ball pen, you can hold this way, and then you place a cutting disc. By the way, this is an improvised cutting disc I made from my old or used metal cutting disc. So this usually gets thin like that or gets small like that, but still you can cut several circles there and then drill holes for the mandrel, and then you just attach it this way to your rotary tool. So you can save on Dremel parts are usually very expensive, but you can make your own cutting disc for your rotary tool. So again, if this gets small already, so you still have this portion, you cannot use it anymore on your angle grinder because you'll hit this portion already, because the blade will be small already. So when it's very small, instead of throwing it away, because anyway you see there's an expiration date, you've not yet reached the expiration date of your cutting disc, so you can still use it. Although you cannot use it anymore on your angle grinder because it's small already, and you will be heating this portion. See, if it's small, you can't go inside the metal anymore because you'll be heating this. But again, if it's small already, you can still make use of those portions. Just cut them in small circles, and then at the middle you drill holes to be able to attach them to your rotary tool. So anyway, that's a project you can make use of. So here, because you cannot insert the cutting disc of the angle grinder, see, there's no way for you to be able to access that with this big cutting disc, but you can easily access it with your rotary tool. This is the part you have to be careful of. This one you can relax and do your cutting, but this one you have to concentrate, because it should be exactly like that. So copy it exactly. So grind. So while grinding, so grind again and then test it if it's really a perfect match, because you should be able to fit this properly, this canal here, with your C-wrench. And then don't make it too thin, because the thinner it is, the less durable it is. So you might be breaking this off while turning the lock ring, because some lock rings are tight, especially if you've not maintained your bike for a long time and there's already rust. So you have to use really brutal force in turning the lock ring. So just make it exactly the same like that, so that this portion will be strong. So again, on these parts you can use your angle grinder. Again, if you don't need this part, you just make the cut straight and then polish it so you won't get cut by the sharp metal edges or portions. And then here, by the way, here you can still cut it straight with your angle grinder, but here you have to attack it with your Dremel tool like that, and then you have to be patient, do that, and then here you attack it this way so that you can have that portion. Okay, this portion, because as I've said, your cutting this won't fit in there. So attack it with your rotary tool. Of course you can use a file, but you know, The reason why power tools are invented so that you will no longer have to use files. So cut it with your Dremel tool here up to there. So all around you can use the ordinary cutting disc. So cut it this way, attack it that way. Now you have to cut on top first, maybe up to the middle of the thickness, and then you have to turn it and then attack it on the other side. Because like this one, if you use a small cutting disc, the mandrel will be hitting already this portion, and you might ruin your mandrel. Mandrels for Dremel tools are very expensive also. So attack it first here, and then turn it, and then tack it on the other side. So if it's very thin already, you can even twist it with your hand or pliers and it will give way already. Now this portion you might be able to polish with your ordinary flap disc, but here you have to remove the cutting disc and attach a grinder. Again, you can also use your file, but the rotary tool is quicker, so you have to polish this so that you will not get cut while using your tool, because there will be sharp portions there. So that's it. So, and then test it. The lock ring. So that's how to make your own DIY lock ring. For turn is this lock ring here. I mean DIY C-wrench. Now we go to the pin wrench. It's called the pin wrench because there are two pins here. This is used for turning this part, the adjustable cup. You place the two pins here and then turn it on the position you want, tightening or loosening it to adjust the bearings inside this crankshaft assembly. So again, you can make use of a punch in turning it, but you know, it's better to have your own specialty tools. Now this is one I purchased online. What I don't like about it is that there is no adjustment screw here. Unlike this one, there is an adjustment screw so that you can retain the position you want. So this one, see, keeps on moving. Sometimes it's irritating. You're holding the C-wrench with your right hand and you're trying to aim the pin wrench on the two holes, and this keeps on moving, so you're not able to shoot it in the two holes immediately because of this irritating movement. The advantage of this is that it has a locking screw here. So if your distance is like that, you just lock it and it will stay in place. This one keeps on moving, see? It's like Pac-Man. Anyway, as you can see, if you place the pins of this wrench for your angle grinder's flange, the opening here is just enough for you to be able to turn the adjustable cup. The problem is, in this particular case, the pins are thick. So here, if you would notice, the pins are thin. Here, the pins are thick. So the remedy is to grind this carefully so that you can insert it inside the two holes. So that's the only modification you can make. But this one, it can fit here and you can turn it left or right. So I'll grind it and then test it here. Again, the pins are thin here, so you can shoot it in the two holes. Now the pins here are thicker, so you have to grind it carefully to make it thin like this so that it can go inside the two holes used for turning the adjustable cap. So in carefully grinding this, you can use your grinding disc with a thin grinding wheel. Most grinding wheels are this thick, but you can find, if you're patient in the hardware store, find a thin grinding wheel. So I'll grind off the edges here carefully, make the pins as thin as this one. This is thick, so I'll make it as thin as this one. If you're going to use your angle grinder in making it thin, you attack it this way. So gently until it becomes thin. Don't grind it this way. You might cut it. You might accidentally cut it. So you angle your angle grinder this way. And until you get the required thickness. If you're going to use your rotary tool in grinding this to make it thin, replace the cutting disc with a grinding stone. Then carefully grind it to size. Or by the way, this is a carbide tip. This is more abrasive than a grinding stone. If you're going to use a carbide tip in your rotary tool, be extra careful because this is more gentle than this one. This is highly abrasive. It grinds off metal at once. Grinds off metal fast compared to this grinding stone. So, but the same procedure, you attach this and then grind it until it becomes thin. So you usually use your pin wrench in tandem or in conjunction with your C-wrench. So you place your C-wrench on the hole, the pin, and then turn the lock ring with your C-wrench. Okay, to adjust the bearing inside. So this is the improvised angle grinder flange tightener. So after making the pin small, just the same, you place the pins on the hole and then turn this lock ring with your C-wrench. Okay, now there are other methods of making improvised pin wrenches. I'll show you how. So this is the C-wrench, my homemade C-wrench. Again, it's for turning this one. Okay, now there's a quick so if you don't have this, you can use this as an alternative pin wrench. It's a bent long nose pliers. You can also use this. Again, you put the tips of the bent pliers in the adjustable cup and then adjust your cone. Okay, you can buy this in almost all hardware stores. It's called the bent long nose pliers. It can serve the purpose of it can serve the same purpose as a pin wrench. So it can serve the purpose of a pin wrench. So instead of having this, you can use this. This will serve as the pin for holding this adjustable cup. Now if you don't have this, you don't have this, and if you don't have this, there are two other methods of having your own pin wrench. I'll show you now. So if you don't have this and you want a pin wrench, these are the other two alternatives. So you'll need two nuts and bolts of this size. So you can either use a pliers or a pair of pliers or an adjustable wrench. All you have to do is drill holes here to accommodate this nut and bolt. So one hole there, one hole, and then place it. Then the other one, place it here. Also, you can drill holes here to accommodate this one and then place the nut and bolt here. This nut and bolt will serve now as the two pins like this. And because it is adjustable, you can adjust the distance of the pins and then use it to adjust the adjustable cap. Also here, since the handle is adjustable, you can shoot the two pins in the two holes of the adjustable cap. So while holding the cap with this one, you turn now the lock ring with your C-wrench. So imagine that you have already placed two nuts and bolts there to serve as the pin. So you can aim the pins there and then hold the adjustable cap while you're turning this one with your lock ring. Okay, so this part of the lock ring set you use on the other side in adjusting this, in turning this. So this slot corresponds to this slot over here, so you can, but as I've said, you don't need this. All you have to do is use an ordinary adjustable wrench here to place this in place there. So this is the ready-made C-wrench I bought online, and this is my homemade C-wrench. Now, if you think this is too time consuming, there's another remedy for you to have a homemade C-wrench. Buy this kind of adjustable plumbing wrench. Now, what you have to do is to grind this portion and imitate that part. So grind this like this and then make this kind of protrusion. So once you've grinded this off to make this kind of protrusion, then you can use this plumbing wrench, plumbing adjustable wrench. This is used usually in plumbing to adjust your lock ring. So you'll position it this way. So imagine there's already a teeth or a tooth there, or a protrusion there. So you will turn your lock ring just like using an ordinary C-wrench. So it will be something like this. So imagine that you have already grounded the protrusion there. So you will place the protrusion in one of the canals and then turn your lock ring as if you're using a C-wrench. So again, you have to grind the protrusion there so that you can insert the protrusion here, and then so you can use this plumbing wrench as a lock ring wrench. Now don't just use this in this manner, because you will be damaging the threads here. See, there should be a protrusion here. You grind the protrusion and then hook it there, and that's the time you turn. Don't just use this, you might damage the surface of this one, especially in tight lock rings. Okay, so if this is the original appearance of the upper surface of the upper part of this plumbing wrench, you have to grind this portion in order to imitate this one. So you will have to grind it, so you will have to come up with something like this. So you change the appearance of this one to that one, so that you'll have a protrusion there to hook it on the canal of the lock ring, just like this one. Okay, the advantage of using this is that you will have more leverage, because you'll have a stronger grip, and you'll have more force in turning the lock ring or tightening the lock ring or removing it if you're going to overhaul the crankset system. So now you have many alternatives in making your own tools so that you'll be able to adjust or overhaul the crankset of your bicycle. By the way, this is a homemade bicycle repair stand I made, but you have to do some welding here. It's adjustable. You can tilt the frame in any way you want. Maybe in one video I'll show you how to make this. Okay, so okay, time for coffee. Oh yeah.